Hi, I'm Randy Altman with Post Perspective. We're here with Bryce from AJA. Hello, Bryce.
Hi, how are you, Randy?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
We're here to talk about products and what your NAB plans would have been if there were an NAB.
Okay, so as you're probably aware, AJ was one of the first companies to go, okay, we see a problem brewing here, and we pulled out of NAB early, which was a very difficult decision, but we thought was the best decision to make in light of the information we had at hand, which unfortunately has proven to be the reality we all now live in. And then we decided initially that we'd try to do a virtual event around the NAB timeframe. And then based upon the realities we're seeing, since we make so much hardware, we obviously have to deal with regulatory bodies, testing bodies, supply chains, that kind of thing. And then we realized pretty fast that in the initial chaos of everything, it wasn't clear on who could do what when. So our factory's up and going because, of course, we fall into essential services since we provide items for news and military and hospitals and all sorts of things. So we've decided instead to announce our products as they're ready to go to market and they're ready to ship, which I think at this time when people are looking at managing resources and being very pragmatic about things is the best way to go. But in the meantime, we have continued to release items. We released items for your user base in the sense of desktop software, for instance. So for all of those who are working remotely, I would encourage you to go to aja.com and download our latest desktop software packages, which have some great updates in them, regardless of the NLE you're in. There's a lot of 8K support that tweaks for IP workflows. As always, making the 4K workflows simpler and simpler, and addressing a lot of the rising 8K demand. And then the other key area, just like we're doing here, we're doing a nice video conference. Our streaming products have done exceptionally well during this time period. And we're struggling to keep up with all the demand because so many industries have had to shift to this new form of communication. But we have a ton of tools, whether it's something as simple as our UTAP devices, which plug and play HDMI, takes the place of your video camera that's built into your computer so that you can use proper lenses and all that type of thing, through our HELO, which is a standalone streaming and recording device, to our I/O products. And the key thing with the I/O products, which we're finding with a lot of houses of worship, people doing more complicated sourcing, in other words, multiple cameras, presentations, that type of thing. Our Kona line of desktop cards and our I/O Thunderbolt products are providing basically up to 4 source inputs simultaneously. And then through software like vMix or Telestream Wirecast, you can switch between them and you're effectively doing your own little broadcast studio at a very low cost. So business continues on. I know, I've sat on enough webinars recently to know a lot of people are working from home. Being able to work remotely is key. And we're happy to provide some of the devices that are going to make that a little bit simpler.
So working remotely, and you do have products that help those people. Have you been speaking to users, and have they been asking you the best way to work or set up? And what kind of trends are you seeing falling off of that?
So yes, indeed. We do distribute and sell our products worldwide, and we're getting a lot of feedback through our channel partners in terms of demand they see, end users online. We've had to respond a lot on our social media channels. Just making it clear how simple things can be, because nobody wants added complexity at this time. We do have a great solutions page on aja.com around streaming solutions, and it addresses these different levels of complexity you might need to deal with. So again, any of the devices that literally plug into the video conferencing tools that are now so common, whether it's Zoom or what have you, those are available. But if you're trying to do a lot of things that are a little more complex with multiple sources, and that's the case in terms of sort of sports broadcasting, keeping folks up to speed on what athletes are doing while they're in lockdown, houses of worship especially have really used this as a way to reach their congregations, whether it's from a synagogue or what have you. And it's been interesting to watch user feedback and the way people are approaching it. I watched a great webinar earlier this week on, how setting things up to make it feel like you're still seeing the crowd you're used to, whether it's the different members of the band or even having the person interviewed in some cases, if they're doing a sermon, what have you, looking slightly to the side so you feel like there's a group. It's been very psychologically reassuring for people because, of course, we're all doing this, looking at each other one-on-one right now.
Yeah.
So that sense of subtle community, I think is really important, and it's been fun to see how people are addressing it.
So you're a post guy, you come from a post background. How do
Yep.
you see the changes that have been happening? How do you see that affecting post in the long run?
Well, I think the rapid rise in obviously the cloud-based services that have been there for a while, and then all the vendors, whether you're talking about Media Composer, whether you're talking about Adobe, they're all moving aggressively to provide platforms that will be more robust for this kind of work, where the media is in the cloud, where maybe you're working with proxy files more, locally, and then expanding the team efforts like Adobe's just done in the last week or so with productions, right? So productions was originally designed for episodic work with teams in a more localized facility. But with the current crisis, of course, that's been expanded as people are utilizing all these social media tools to be able to communicate. And I think that trend will most certainly continue, and has simply been accelerated through this whole mess that we're currently dealing with. So it's fun for us because if you already have been an AJA client or you're considering it, what I'm sharing here is that effectively our Kona tools or our IO products, you might have originally purchased them for straightforward editing with your computer at home, maybe driving a monitor. But these very same tools are interchangeable, as you move between your editing platforms from Final Cut to Media Composer to Adobe, maybe software packages like After Effects, etc. So you can utilize it for all of those. The plugins are built in. But you have this added ability to utilize the streaming platforms, to be able to get it to CDN through the appropriate third-party software combination. And also for a lot of folks that are going to want to do more with virtual sets, we don't really know how many months certain locations are going to be locked down for. You can even utilize the game engines. So, with our Kona cards, you can work with an Unreal game engine. And you can create quite an incredible environment to set your guests in or whatever type of show it is you're working on. So, I think the need for content has always been there. Content-driven business is what it's been about for a while. Netflix and everybody else are pushing ahead to ensure that they have enough programming for everyone. As we all spend a bit more time at home, I don't know about you, but I've certainly binge watched.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So it's a lot of fun. And I think those tools have been great. And we're also seeing, it's been interesting to watch and analyze what's happening on our website. That's often more indicative of trends moving forward as well. And we've seen great interest in 12G SDI, for instance, which I think is testament to simplifying 4K workflows. I was looking at figures this last week. You get a bit more time to do a bit of research when you're working at home. It's a great educational time period, I have to say. And what we learned there is 4K or Ultra HD has increased fivefold in terms of availability across platforms, whether traditional broadcasting or the OTT services in the last 12 months. And alongside that is a big increase in HDR. So, working with our partners, plus the tools we make, there's a lot going on in the HDR space, and all the major NLEs are doing their best to ensure that color a workflow is clearly available throughout timelines and on. You know, our analyzer that we basically made available a little earlier this year combines this 12G need with HDR to simplify analysis. So I think, you know, content creation may be a little bit different for a while. We can't all just run around and go into studios, but you can certainly get projects done from home. And I think people are being incredibly creative with the materials, you know, they're putting together at this point in time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see all the different changes and all the different workflows people come up with. We've been trying to share that on our site, and we'll continue to do that. And thank you, Bryce. It was good to see you.
Likewise, yeah, just keep an eye on the HA.com. We will announce various webinars and so on as we get closer to product releases. And, you know, this is a time where the IP, for instance, is going to be growing. You can think of IP in a broader sense, everything from streaming to 2110 and so on. But there's some interesting protocols and so on that we're exploring, and we hope to basically bring you a lot more tools to take you forward in the next couple of months here.
Thank you, Bryce.